So I found a journal that I wrote about the very beginning of Madam's organ, and I was just going to read a little bit about the very beginning. So it says, in the beginning of February, I moved into Laura and Elsa Hayes' house on 18th Street. At the time I moved in, the place looked like a 3-story abandoned museum. Great quantities of horse bones in the middle room downstairs, tons of weird metal machinery, soot everywhere, and a huge hole in the ceiling of the downstairs middle room that looked up to the second-story bathroom so that if your timing was right, you could watch someone pee from the floor below.
They were Corcoran students and other artists who weren't able to get work in the big galleries in town, and they founded their own gallery.
After I was there a couple of weeks, we started having this idea that we would renovate the place and turn it into an art gallery. The area, of course, was the Adams Morgan area of Washington, D.C., and an artist friend of mine heard that I moved to Adams Morgan. He said, "Oh, Esty, darling, I'm so glad that you moved to the Madams Organ area." I just cracked up, and it stayed in my memory. So when we were looking for a name, I said, "I've got a name for you. This is a perfect name for us." And because it was such a bizarre and kind of risque name, it just immediately started us off on that direction. I think it started possibly more rebellious, more out there than we would have been before. The sort of radical freedom, rebelliousness, really anti-authoritarian for sure, and just very much wanting to have the world that we wanted and wanting it now, and wanting to create something completely different without a model, doing something different than what had been there before. So this is Laura Gregory, Tommy Ashton, myself, and I don't know if you can see, but we have Madam's Organ written on our feet.
To archives and outtakes of the documentary Punk the Capitol, Backstage Adams Morgan, live music yesterday, today, tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. Real American Sign Language interpretation are available during today's live program. To view the simulcast that includes these services, please use the link provided in the comment section. If you're viewing this program after the live broadcast, please note that this will also be available on our website with closed captioning. My name is Mark Puryear. I'm a curator and musician based in Washington, D.C., and associated with the Smithsonian Folklife Festival and the Smithsonian Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage. I'll be moderating the discussion today. We'll be having a discussion for the next hour. Today, we invite you to participate in a conversation about music, community, and Adams Morgan neighborhood history. As those of you who are from the area, and for those of you who are tuning in from outside the area, the Adams Morgan neighborhood is located in Northwest Washington, not far from the National Zoo and the Duke. 18th Street and Columbia Road Northwest has long been an important anchor for Washington, D.C.'s eclectic music scene. Since the 1980s, it has been a different music genres and during this time of COVID-19, we know that performing artists and venues and producers have been greatly impacted in terms of opportunities to perform, earn revenue, and connect directly with their communities. Today, we are remembering better times and considering the challenges of the present by exploring the past, music scenes and communities linked to the Adams Morgan neighborhood. We'll be taking your comments in live chat below, so please participate. This program is a collaboration between whose staff is producing and Adams Morgan Day. DC's longest continuously running neighborhood festival, now in its 42nd year. Other Adams Morgan Day sessions this afternoon at admoday.com. Now I'd like to welcome our guest. First, let me welcome Teddy Aklilu, a musician in Addis Ababa who was founder of the band Admas, which played regularly in Adams Morgan in the early 1980s, and whose 1980s album Sons of been re-released to a lot of acclaim. Next, we have Rob Colton, musician and co-owner of Bassa, a venue in Adams Morgan which presents live music from around the world. And following Rob, we have Paul Bischow, filmmaker and longtime resident of Adams Morgan, who along with James Snyder and Sam Lavine directed the documentary Punk the Capital about the early years of DC punk rock active in Adams Morgan. So let's get this conversation started. I want to invite each of you to introduce yourselves. We'd like to hear about your relationship to Adams Morgan. And Teddy, can you start us off?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Theodoros Aklilu. I'm Ethiopian. And I started coming to the Adams Morgan neighborhood around 1980, 81. Around that time, I was a student at George Washington University, and we used to go to the Georgetown neighborhoods to party, and we were looking for alternatives. And Adams Morgan restaurants, there was a restaurant called Red Sea that opened in that neighborhood on 18th and Columbia. And my relationship with that neighborhood started with that restaurant. That's really how it goes. And in that restaurant, it ended up becoming a kind of cultural center where a lot of music experimentation was happening, and a lot of cultural musical healing was happening. So I would say it started something, that activity in Adams Morgan in around 1980, 81. So that's my experience with Adams Morgan. And then a long, period of playing in that neighborhood and experiencing everything, eating everything.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Teddy. And yes, it is. How about you, Rob? Could you share a little bit about
I don't know what else.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Did you have something to add, Teddy? Well, next, Rob Colton, musician and co-owner of Bassa. Rob, could you share a little bit about your introduction to the neighborhood?
Sure thing. First, a shout out to my business partner, Wagner, who from Minas Gerais, Brazil, an amazing chef and really does the heavy lifting at Bassa. And Jim from Multiflora for booking the majority of the amazing music we have there. So I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, very multicultural areas. Even in my apartment building on my floor, there are people from literally all over the world. And my grandfather was a klezmer violinist, ran away from the Russian army to Detroit. The area he was in was also very multicultural. So my mom would tell me the stories of going to gospel tents and hearing early jazz. He would take her all over the place. And my father would play music from all over the world. So it's just kind of something that's very family-like to me, something that feels very comfortable. And so I grew up playing Latin rock and funk in Brooklyn. I played mafia bars. I was turned 17 in Pete's 1717 Club. If you look at some of the places from that history, that fabled history of the mafia in New York. Great food. Remember scungil. I don't know if anyone even knows what that is, but it's great stuff. And eventually I moved down to the DC area to join a country rock jam band. And I really didn't know DC was around here. I was on a horse farm. I was living in the barn, but the cows were downstairs. And eventually I started a career and started performing with this singer. And we started playing in the Adams Morgan area at this place called Felix. And this street felt so good. You know, there was just so much going on. It was a little reminiscent of Frenchmen Street in New Orleans, where there was just so many interesting things going on musically. And I was involved in high tech for a while, and it just got to be too painful, too big business. So I just kind of left that. And at that time, we started looking for a place, and they were selling the Red Sea restaurant. And it just felt good. And that became our place. And little did I know about the musical history. I just thought of it as a place with great food. And Teddy and I have become friends over the years. I had no idea that they had such good music there. It's amazing. So that's kind of a little bit of the background.
Okay, thank you, Rob. And finally, Paul Bichal, could you tell us a little bit about your introduction to Adams Morgan and some of your first experiences in the neighborhood?
Okay. Well, in 77, 78, I came to visit a friend who had just stopped here in DC and just ended up staying, and lived down on 14th and N, and, you know, exploring the city. One day we went to the zoo and decided to walk home, and walking back, I came through 18th Street and Columbia Road, and I saw this. It was nighttime at this point. It was dark, and there was this big scene and a lot of people gathering at a fence, and we're like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And we go, and this is where the old PFW station was in the building, and the building had a parking lot on the roof somehow, and they had a ramp to go up to the roof. And at that scene that night, it was like a film noir or something. There was a fellow stuck in a spotlight with a helicopter holding it on him against the wall. It's kind of halfway up the ramp with the police all around, and said, "Wow, that's a wild neighborhood." And then eventually we got a chance to move into the neighborhood, actually, because we found a cheap apartment. It was decidedly unusual. And so we moved here. And then I got a job at a print shop, and I'd have to walk to work it was just on M Street and 18th. So I just up and down 18th Street all the time. And then I met some people on the stoop on 18th Street, which is now the Amsterdam falafel place. But at the point, it was just a group house. And they were the folks who Madam's Organ was across the street. And they were members of Madam's Organ. We get to talk, and they were very friendly. And I made movies, and they were saying, "Well, we should see them and stuff." And so we started doing that. I'd show movies over there and stuff like that. And then at that time, very quickly, they started having punk rock shows. And nobody really knew what was going to happen. And but it was great fun, and since they were having shows, sometimes twice a week, certainly every weekend at least, sometimes even in the middle of the week and stuff. So ended up spending an awful lot of time there, and actually shooting a lot of the shows, and actually making a film at the time there. And then now we've revisited all this footage and more stuff, and made a movie about the sort of the seeds of hardcore punk rock, and it's called Punk the Capital.
Well, Paul, we have some footage, if we could pull it up, of just some scenes around the neighborhood. Could you talk to us about that?
Well, that's the Ontario Theater, which was an incredible grindhouse kind of thing. They would have triple horror films, but they have live shows of Clash and Dead Boys and Public Image, and actually incredible shows like the Cramps. Oh my goodness. This is the Hispanic Festival, which was a week either before or a week after Adams Morgan Day. And as you can see, it is very crowded, and it was parades, and there were bands and music, and it was the Brazilians would always be the cleanup act at the end of the parade, and after that, everybody would just join the parade, and it got so huge they had to move it to the mall. It's just and that's just the view out my window. But what great fun.
Well, thank you for that, Paul. I'd like to ask each one of you, and I guess we could start with you again, Paul. How has Adams Morgan been unique, distinctive site of community and music in DC? What makes it this way, in your opinion? And what do you feel really sets this neighborhood off?
I think basically it's an openness. It's like Rob said, it's very multicultural and a just sort of openness to everything, or all kinds of music. And back in that day, it wasn't so much that they had to make money off of it or anything like that. It was just like, let's just do it because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I think that was probably the main thing that made it special.
We have a few pieces of media here that, again, reference that time. If you want to talk to us about those, Paul.
Well, that was an amazing show at the Ontario Theatre. Bo Diddley opening for the Clash. It was just really an incredible time, and I remember it quite well. And that's the actual Madam's organ, pretty much close to the end before they got evicted. But well, punk rock killed me. They had stopped having shows, but that was still excellent. And yes, that's the Madam's Organ Art Cooperative. They weren't a bar or anything like that. They started out as an art gallery and then became a music venue for all kinds of music. And there they are. That's Kim Kane getting a good view of the stage. And some people, well, you can't tell, but they're dancing, I believe. And that would be the Enzymes doing a set. Obviously, they didn't care too much about neatness. For an art gallery, they were pretty open-minded.
Okay. Rob, how about Bosses, the scene there at Bossa? What music, what sort of vibe are you trying to create there? Let's get a glimpse of types of music and energy you commonly see at Bossa. We've got a couple of media clips we'll play, and then if you could talk to us a bit about them.
Sure. Pretty amazing. So mostly what we have at Bossa is communities from all over the DC area. It's really truly amazing to me. On weekends, it's predominantly Latin, Brazilian music, and those communities come in. And during the week, it's people from all over. And what we saw there, I guess, first was a kind of a dance troupe from people all over the world. That was Muhammad Ali from Egypt. He was a whirling dervish. just amazing. And I remember asking him if he wanted something to eat before he went on, and I thought he had it all together. He said, "No, I'll get sick." You know, I thought I was the only one who spun and got sick, but he knew stuff. After that, there was a clip of Mike Winch, his jam session of Irish music. Just beautiful. I love that music. And the last one was Babazoula from Turkey, very famous alternative rock band from Turkey. The thing that's so important here is that what Bossa is about is having a space for communities. It's not like you're sitting down, distant, watching these bands and not being part of it. So these communities come in with their music, and that was a wonderful Middle Eastern jam session we had going on upstairs. That, in fact, the person that found that Huda, who you see in the corner there, would talk about how she really wanted that session to be like hanging out in her grandparents' house. That people would just come over, enjoy being with the music, listening, singing, dancing. And that's really the feel that makes us happy at Bossa. When there's a community that comes in, people just walk in and they start dancing. We don't make any money there. It's not a profitable venture. We're just making it, and I'm very happy for that. But what makes us happy was a community comes in. That was an amazing evening. That was Ganawan music from Morocco. And what we discovered, you see the instrument he's playing. I've been performing at Bossa with Sheikh Amal Jabate for over 10 years. And it turns out the Ganawan music from Morocco originated with the sub-Saharan people that were brought up to Morocco. And so we found this connection between Malian music and Moroccan music. And there was some jam in there that you wouldn't believe. A true coming home, true connection. Some of the words they even use are part of the Manding language, we found out. It's not traditional Moroccan or Arabic. So this just brings me such joy. All the cultures come in there. People walk in sometimes, their feet just start moving and dancing. They don't think I'm going to dance. It just, they can't help it. That makes us happy. So that's really the vibe at Bossa. That's really what we like, is the cultural connection that people feel with their ancestors, in a sense. Their today and their whole heritage. And
Well, thank you, Rob.
thank you.
That's really great. Teddy, could you talk to us about Admas and your work
Yes.
at the Red Sea? And while you're doing that, we have some images we'll be bringing up. So please fill us in on how you got to performing there and what that whole scene was like. Go ahead, Teddy, if you hear me.
Okay. When we first got the gig at Red Sea, it was one of two restaurants that was on that 18th Street strip. The other one was called Aksum. It was on the other end by the tennis court. Red Sea, on that end is Aksum, and people used to walk from one to the other. And in the middle, there was a lot, very occupied. It was very dark, and it was not a lot of traffic in the evening. It was a dark place, and that's what I remembered when we played at the Red Sea. And our cars, sometimes the radio would not be there when we come back.
Oh.
And that's what 18th Street was like. And it was for Ethiopian immigrants. We did not understand what was going on, what is implicated. It was very low rent neighborhood. That's what I understood. And the restaurants that opened there were opening because it was low rent. They said it was as low as $1,000 a month or $300 a month that the restaurants were paying. So I think that's heard now. So they're able to open there. And Ethiopians needed a place to be. People were in need of an expression, of a community center of sorts, so they could feel, some kind of togetherness in this place, because it's a big country. America is a big country. It's not very easy to get a handle of immediately. So you need other people to feel comfortable and to understand what we have is what we left. Say that, but while we are here, we are listening to music from here too. So that's creeping into the music, and even though at that time we didn't realize it, people who listen to it now are like, it's for us it was not very how do you explain it? It's very natural what was happening. Everything we hear we put in the music. It was just we're in our early 20s, and that's what we were doing. But that neighborhood, within a period of 1 or 2 or 3 years, transformed. I really think so, and it became very diverse. There was all kinds of other night music going on. Not only Ethiopian. It was so many, and it was very interesting neighborhood. We only came to that neighborhood after that for about 8 or 9 years. That's the only neighborhood we would go to if we want to go out of our houses, and that's what I remember. That's what I remember.
Okay, and, thank you, Teddy.
Yes.
Just for the audience listening, I want to make sure you realize that Teddy is joining us from Addis in Ethiopia, and that might be why, or that is why, the connection may be a little choppy. But we're doing our best with this connection from Addis so that Teddy can join us and share his stories about the neighborhood and his work with Admas. I would like to move on to another question for each of you to respond to. And that's really, I guess, I'm hemming and hawing how to ask this because everyone's in such different places. But given the present, what's the future of live music in Adams Morgan? What are your hopes for the future given the realities of the pandemic? What would you want to take from Adams Morgan community and music scenes that you know or knew and love? What do you need to retain? What do we need to retain to build upon during this time of COVID and into the future? And how about I start with you, Rob?
Well, we're actually currently talking with the people at DC Nightlife and the health department to kind of figure out what a model would be. It may be that the musicians at this point are separated from the audience completely, very small outdoor audience. We're just trying to figure out what the current model is. The tunnel we have to go through is the wintertime, when people are perhaps more concerned. We're going inside to places. Right now, people could sit outside and listen and enjoy and eat and all that. So, but even if you look at the restaurants popping up on the street, it's still this multicultural sensibility there. Small places. I have a little hope that community will still want to form. Well, not that I have hope. I am sure that communities will still want to form and have places where they could go and connect. And so the question is how long and when. And but it'll happen. It'll happen.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Paul, would you share some of your thoughts about this? Which you've been such a long time resident. I'm sure you have some insights.
Yes, but all right. I think the Madam's organ and the punk rock thing, there was such a breakdown of, I'm not a musician, I'm not in a band or anything like that, it's audience. But the breakdown between the band and the audience was sort of one of the main appeals to me, that there was no real line drawn between the performer and the audience. It was, especially at that space and that time, It was so crowded. It was just a row house. It really is just somebody's living room. I mean, a good sized living room, but it was packed. It was it's something that music wasn't. It was a part of a being. It wasn't just something you listened to and thought about. You were really, really in it, you know. Outside of a vaccine in a couple of years, I think we're far away from that. So I don't know. I mean, I can see. Even live music, even over the internet and stuff. It can be, very enjoyable. It can be a beautiful thing, but it's just not the same still. It's more something you think about as opposed to you just live it.
All right. And Teddy, to you, similar question. Where do you see, and I know you're an artist, but you do get back to the States from time to time. And where do you see music in this neighborhood, or let's just expand out and say within the Ethiopian community in this area going, and given the future and the realities of the pandemic? Did you get all of that, Teddy?
Teddy seems frozen.
Frozen, yeah. Let's see.
Okay.
There we are.
Tough question to answer from here.
Yes.
Yes, I understood. It's a tough question
Yes.
to answer. You hear me now?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's a tough question to answer. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, for example, I'll tell you a simple example of a concrete way that Asborg and Addis Ababa connected, and Rob can be witness to that, which is he and Sheikh Amala and another musician, a vocalist, came to Addis, and we were able to supply them the remaining members of the band from Addis, and we're able to have 2 or 3 concerts in Addis. And that's one of the concrete ways that Adams Morgan and Addis connected. And I think we could have a lot more of these connects, because this is a much bigger hotspot in terms of world cultures. Addis Ababa is a hotspot, but it's a different kind of spot. And I thought of helping in terms of different kinds of culture. For example, when I was playing with Sheikh Kamala, I was able to realize the direct cultural connections between Ethiopia and Mali. And that's not very obvious to many people when you immediately think about it. But me thinking, and after a lot of research, a lot of interesting things came our way. And Adams Morgan was very intrinsic part of those discoveries. So I think our world healed when we're able to talk to each other, and when we all understand each other's cultures. And this kind of neighborhoods are essential for the world. There should be more of them, and it should be the only thing. I wish that whole country is that way, and I think it would be a magical place if it happens like that. I really think that way. So, if it's an experiment, it's a good one. If it's just that's allowed to happen, and we need more of that, and
A question from the audience for you, Teddy, too, is that we don't see much live Ethiopian music anymore on 18th Street. Oh, okay. Question from the audience. I didn't mean to chop this all up. We don't see much live music anymore on 18th Street from the Ethiopian bands. Any chance the current venues can make it a part of the local music scene again?
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
Yeah, so we once a month, just once a month, maybe more, we have Fidel Band on I think it's the first or second Thursday, perform at Bassa, and it's an amazing band. The thing that's so thrilling to me is a couple of the original Ethiopic people are in that band.
Ah,
So certainly know those people, and it's truly amazing. And when some of the bands
the
tour
audio
through,
is
they
so
get
bad. Ah,
when some of the bands tour through, we managed to get
uh,
them to play at Bassa. The
yeah,
one of the
sorry, I'm not catching half of that. I'm not catching half of that.
I was talking a little bit about Fidel at Bassa. The other amazing thing is when Sheikh and I, maybe 4 years ago, went to visit Teddy, and he set us up with a few gigs out there, is that the music, maybe a little more of the north of Mali, is so rhythmically in sync with Ethiopian music. We were just all smiling from ear to ear. It's like it fits so well. It's so related, so connected, and we just had a great time with the musicians out there.
Now, I just thought I'd mention that I know that some of the clubs along 9th Street and that area around U Street, I think Dukem was having live music for a while, Ethiopian club there, but it's not like the music has left this area. It's just it's not located in Adams Morgan so much. The venues,
Right.
yeah. So we seem to have some difficulty. We're trying to get Teddy back. This is the challenge of our times, technology and various issues across borders. Any other comments or thoughts, Paul? What do you think in this time, as well as just thinking about what's transitioned and what's transpired on that block of 18th Street? If you could share a little bit about your observations of change. I know the venue's now a cookie shop, and a lot of places have changed. Rents have gone up, so forth and so on.
True. It's gone through lots of changes, and lots of the clubs, for a while we had Kilimanjaro, which was actually a very large space for live music and stuff like that. Now I think it's a gym, right? It's a
I think it's a fitness place.
Yeah, but and that change has been pretty much constant through the 80s to now. Granted, all these clubs that even like Columbia Station, which was open back in the day, but it was on Columbia Road, and now it's moved over to 18th Street. Now it's basically a jazz club. I mean, they sort of stick to their genre and stuff like that. And then there's Bukum, which is African and stuff like that. And sort of the clubs have kind of found their place. Not to say they were completely shut down to varieties or anything like that. But that has changed. Just in general, the way music is presented, it doesn't mix as much as it used to. You could have even at Boston, you have different kinds of music on different nights, and not even just prescribed what night is what. You might have just say, well, this band wants to play this Saturday night. They can fit us in. We can fit them in. Let's do it. Doesn't it's not really closed down. As far as the future goes, I want to be optimistic, but it's definitely so different. I mean, it's going to take me a while to get used to it. To just my own audience part.
Right. Well, Rob, and I know both of you have seen that neighborhood change over time, but Rob, what are some of the other challenges to live music presentation in that area, and operating a music venue? I know I think it was maybe the early 90s, the neighborhood seemed to really be full of people. I mean, the weekends were just jam-packed.
Yes. We actually almost feel of ourselves more of a cultural center than we feel anything. Uh, it's really a issue of like how to fund people, you know. So if you get the night and 20 people come in, you know, it's maybe incredibly satisfying evening, but will it even pay for the staff? Will it pay for you know, to us to be open insurance and all that? So that's really one of the major challenges. Back in the day, we just had to open our doors and it would just be packed. It was very easy. You know, you could charge a little fee, give everything to the band, and it would all pay for itself. So it's really a matter of how to fund things. One of the things I was thinking about too, the thing that besides for the communities we have in DC, we actually have the Kennedy Center and different venues that people come through to tour on their way to South by Southwest or different things. And they're always looking for a place to kind of connect with people. So something that's been very fortunate for us, we may have these amazing bands from wherever in the world, and they finish playing at Kennedy Center and they want a place to be with the community. So we're fortunate to be able to reach out, and everyone's happy. You know, everyone's happy in a situation like that.
Well, that's
So
great.
it's really like anything, like the how do you fund this? You know, how do you fund it? We don't necessarily want to think of just selling things to people to fund it, and it's really the challenge.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing also, our landlord is very supportive of what we're doing, and that's one of the things I feel makes it a positive future potential for us. Is that our landlord was involved in actually Studio 54 in New York in the live music scene back in the day, and she just really always is telling me how appreciative she is of what we're doing and reaching out to communities. And I don't know if it's the same for many people. You know, it might be about money for many other landlords and tenant relationships, but it's not necessarily the case for us.
That's very fortunate to be in that position, I think, especially with live music, because that seems to be a challenge.
Yes.
I see we have Teddy back. So, Teddy,
Yes.
what were I'm gonna ask a compound question here, but what were some of the sources of music or influence on you and your bandmates in Admas? What was the sounds you were soaking up in DC and in particular in Adams Morgan in the 80s? If you could give some examples. And then I'd like to open it up to a three-way conversation between the three of you. So if you have questions you'd like to ask each other after Teddy responds to that question.
Yeah. Let me see. Adams Morgan, Mr. Henry's. There was a right around the corner, and I used to go watch jazz music there. Plenty of jazz, and every chance we get, I would make the trip from Maryland to come see some music and drive back all the way back. And what else? There was like the Spaghetti Garden and all these little places, Café Lautrec and what's the other one? The Isola Verde. Upstairs, we used to perform in there, and he used to encourage us to do more experimentation than the normal stuff. So Mahari was a very good musical influence. He was a good man. And what else? There was a lot of different little things that would pop up and disappear. It was not a place where things stay a long time.
Okay.
So the Kilimanjaro was a big influence. There was something else called the Baobab that was around there too. And Ghana Cafe was another thing that popped up and was very interesting. And at some point I left the neighborhood, and I cannot talk about what happened after 87, 86, 87. But I feel that it changed. And I feel a change started happening when this club called Cities came into the neighborhood, if I am correct. Do you remember a club called Cities?
I
That
do
was
briefly, but I'd left the area around that same time myself, so
yeah.
I don't have.
Cities is a
Yeah.
it's a very cosmopolitan, very it kind of was not. It's out of place in that neighborhood. Kind
Hmm.
of. I felt because
Yeah.
there was to be a line of people who used to be in front of cities,
Ah,
and we
yes.
used to have a line of people in front of Maskaram restaurant, which had entertainment. They were right next to each other,
Hmm.
and we were so different. I mean, we were different people. That was a very international group of people. I bet you they are Georgetown and George.
Looks like
People,
Teddy got froze a
and
bit there. Yeah, there we go.
their parents are
Mm.
rich, and it's a culture. It's part of our world, and these people, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, no.
You froze now.
Neighborhood. It brought a different feeling to that neighborhood, and it is. I felt at the time it is beautiful because
Nope, we lost Teddy's connection.
So, Paul, where exactly was Madam's, the original Madam's? What space
Well,
is that?
it's the Insomnia Cookies now. You know where that is? It's, I don't remember.
1835, I think it is the address.
Yeah, I guess it's an odd number because it's on the west side of 18th Street.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the building is obviously still there, which is good. And they had a landlord that was not sympathetic at all, but they also had trouble paying their rent and stuff like that. But and actually, they threatened with eviction somewhat regularly.
Boy.
So, Insomnia Cookies is actually an appropriate name, right? For
Yeah,
the lineage.
yes. And we were out there last night projecting on the side of the building, and its business is doing well. They had a lot of people going in and getting cookies and coming back out.
Good.
But I'd like to go back to, there was a tremendous amount of changes. There was cities. There was Dakota, which was a disco or something. There were a lot of different things happening. I guess everybody was trying, anything they could think of and see if it. But the Dakota was actually in the old Avion Freres. It was actually a fairly large venue, but it was a disco. It wasn't. It was records. And then further down, you had places like Chief Ike's, which had a variety of music and stuff. Again, a very small venue, and so up and coming bands that just really wanted to working with an audience, which was actually kind of nice too. So, and then things did eventually sort of move down to U Street with I don't know exactly why, but the different venues starting opening up there. And I don't know if it's a competition or just expanding,
Right around that time, they did close 18th Street to build out the sidewalks and change the parking. So it was very difficult to be on 18th Street right around the transition time. I'm not sure what happened first, or
Yeah,
they changed it to a sort of, what is it called? Not parallel parking, but like
the diagonal part.
diagonal parking. Yeah.
We always heard that there was a what administration? I think it was during the Bush administration that somebody from the administration liked the route going straight up 18th Street, and that's why they changed it and they also changed the lights so the cars could go faster and get out of town, and that certainly affected places where you were supposed to park your car and go in.
Okay.
Took the parking away.
Before we cut out, we're almost out of time, and I know I'd feel remiss if we didn't get some visuals up of the group, Teddy, of your group Admas, the album cover, and if you could just talk to us about what's happening with that. I understand it's been re-released.
Yes, the album got re-released, and it's a big surprise for us because from 36 years ago. But it's very nice, and you could say it was born on 18th Street. This music, this particular experimentation that came into this music. So I think 18th Street can claim it, and you know. That idea of a lot of different cultures being next to each other.
Okay. Did we lose your audio again? I think we may have lost.
So far away.
Yeah, it's amazing that we've gotten this great of a connection. I think, given the challenges of technology, and I would like. Oh, there he's back. We're just about out of time. I think we could talk another hour easily about this, and but we have to close out, and would like to really thank our guests for sharing their experiences and insights into Adams Morgan and the music scene over the years. Our guests are Teddy Aklilu, Rob Colton, and Paul Bichau. And this has been a pleasure for me to moderate this conversation, and I want to thank the audience for participating and all those who watched and listened and commented. I want to close by offering thanks to the production team. That includes Christina Diaz-Carrera, Sojin Kim, Sarah Rothman, Diane Nutting, Jason Morris. All of these folks have done a great job of producing this event and producing this online discussion. Thanks to Jim Deutsch, Margot Granite, and the Adams Morgan Day crew, James June Snyder, Kamara Zacharias Gannett, Jenny Maycock, Alyssa Huff, and Sabrina Motley. And a shout out to Joe Lapin of Songbird Music House and Record Cafe, who are live streaming music from their venue for this year's Adams Morgan Day. Follow the Smithsonian Folklife page on Facebook to get notifications about future events. Tune in to more Adams Morgan Day events at admoday.com. And I'd like to ask everybody to say goodbye, or if you have any last comments before we roll out, just brief, short comments. Now's the time. None? We lost Teddy again.
Yeah, I can't wait for more live music. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, and goodbye. We're going to go out with some music from a live show at Basel, which featured music by a Cambodian circus band.